Hi everyone, it's Tanya back with another Creator Insights video. So we'll be chatting with Lex today, whose tour of Rivendell is already up on my channel. It's really beautiful, check that out. And we'll be understanding more about Lex's design approach, her philosophy towards Animal Crossing themes, and I hope you enjoy. So I love the theme of your island. Can you describe it in your own words and also mention kind of if something specific inspired you? Because I know you said it's named after Rivendell. So yeah, if you can talk about that.
Yeah, so originally when I started to actually work on my island decor, I was inspired by Wolfgang Crossing. Her name is Emily.
Yeah,
She's
amazing
like a
creator.
prominent figure in the Instagram community, yeah, and I really wanted to capture that tropical vibe that she had. But the more I worked on it, the more it kind of clashed with the original idea I'd had of Rivendell, which is like a forest kind of land. And I just couldn't get the tropical vibes to work for me, I guess because it wasn't my original idea. So I slowly started to take one section of my island at a time and change it into a more woodsy vibe. I'd definitely say that two creators that inspired me were Chester's Crickets on Instagram and Carbonara Crossing.
I
They
don't
both
actually
have,
know them.
very, yeah,
I'll have
they
to follow them.
are also really beautiful. Yes, would recommend. But their islands both have like different kind of forest vibes. Like Enna, she's Carbonara Crossing. She has more of like a stone and forest vibe, whereas Leanne has like a very natural, like light, sandy path kind of vibe. It's just really nice. Both of them have forests, but they're very different. Uh, and so I thought I could go for the same kind of thing. Like I could have a forest, but it not be just the same as everyone else, just like cedar trees and things like that. And so because my original island was so full of color, I didn't really want to sacrifice that, even though I love the white flower vibe that so many islands have. So I decided that I would just stagger it throughout my island. Like I kept a lot of the areas are primarily white flowers, gold roses, very neutral tones. But then, in the center of my island, I created the hybrid garden. And instead of ripping it all up, when I ripped everything else up, I just left it there because I think it's a nice pop of color that's kind of different from everything else on the island.
Completely. That area is so, yeah, it's really stunning because I've seen the kind of the rainbow flower fields where, you get a strip of color, but I haven't seen it in a circle like that. And then how you carry the color through the outside as well. That was really
Yeah.
cool. Did it take a long time to make that, or how did you map that out?
So for the hybrid garden, what I started with was I knew I wanted to have a mountainous vibe. And so the first part of the hybrid garden I actually did was that area, the path where you're walking towards the statue, the Gallant statue.
Mm.
The two cliffs on either side of that path were the first part of the hybrid garden I actually made.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and I knew I wanted it to be like a spiral of color, so I started with white on one side, and then the other side of the cliff was blue, and then drawing it down, it becomes purple, and then into the rainbow fountain with the circle of colors. So around the fountain, the colors kind of match what they are on the fountain, I guess, if that makes sense. So I just kind of built an area around the fountain in a circle. The fountain came next, and then I put up the area with the yellow and green flowers, and then the red and orange. So I just kind of wanted it to be a circle of color.
That's so clever. Yeah, I'm looping around that area right now. It's really just stunning. And I also noticed you have sort of different color themes through the island. Like you'll have kind of a blue section, and you'll have a little more yellow section. Was like, yeah, just how did you plan that?
So for the different color sections that I created in the island, honestly, part of it was just me picking whatever flowers I had left on the beach and being like, okay, I need to put these somewhere. So, for instance, the area in front of Judy and Marshall's house where I have the blue flowers and the blue hydrangeas around the fountain, that was literally just because I had 40 blue roses on the beach, and they took so long to breed that I didn't want to just sell them
Yeah,
or throw them away. So I was like, okay,
yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna have to
dedication.
incorporate these. And then some were more natural, like the tropical area beside Audie's house, the little like sand path. I used a lot of different tropical colors there just because I don't really incorporate pink and orange a lot into my island anywhere else. And
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have at least a few of every hybrid flower on my island since I did breed them all personally. I
Yeah.
didn't want to throw all that hard work away. And so, yeah, it just
Yeah.
kind of happened like that. Like, I would just pick whatever flowers I had available and I would try to make an area out of it.
Well, it works so seamlessly. It's really impressive.
Thank you.
Um, so, yeah, you have so many remarkable areas. Do you have a favorite?
Um, I think maybe my house area is my favorite. That's my favorite place to just like sit if I'm tired of terraforming. Um,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
to just sit in front of the tiny library on the game while I get on Instagram on my phone and take a break. I just find my house area very calming. Also, I know it took forever because I put so many different custom patterns down on the ground.
Yeah.
Uh, Besides that, I think I like the area behind Judy's house, like leading up to the museum. That little pathway. I
Mm.
posted a picture of it on Instagram today, actually. But that diagonal bridge is one of my favorite areas.
Yeah, okay. So I have so many questions to pick up on those things. So one was you mentioned the path around your house area, and you have like really unique paths, like the different kind of codes you have along there. And you also have different pathing themes throughout the different parts of the island. So yeah, how did you approach that? Like, did you kind of set on a style for a certain area, or yeah, how'd that work?
It kind of was the same as when I didn't want to sacrifice the different color flowers. I knew that I liked several different paths, and I was trying. It took forever to figure out a way to like incorporate them all without it seeming really staggered and like incohesive.
Mm,
But basically, I would pick a path and I would know that I wanted it, like the stone paths, the stone circles at my entrance. I
hmm.
loved it.
Those are
And
stunning. Yeah,
I carried those over from the tropical areas that I'd had before. So I
that's
just
cool.
changed it. Like my entrance used to be the same white brick that I have in the hybrid garden, and I knew I wanted it to be more of a like neutral tone at the front, like grayish vibes. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, it was basically like that. I just didn't want to miss out on any of the paths that I liked a lot. So I tried to figure out ways to incorporate them in different areas of the island without it seeming very like broken up. Bridges helped a lot with that, changing like paths on either side of a bridge.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's so smart. And then yeah, that leads me to the bridges. Like you have really beautiful diagonal bridges and waterways. Like diagonal bridges are my favorite ways to use them. So I loved seeing all of them on your island. But they're really tricky to place. Like how did you plan out your water terraforming and the bridges?
I think the boldest thing you've done is to assume that I had a plan. Um, yeah, no. Most of it was really very like in the moment spontaneous, doing what I could. So like the bridge that I mentioned before behind Judy's house, between Judy's house and the museum, that
Hmm.
area, I just had those two mountains on either side, the one behind the pool patio and the one to the right of Res Services. There are
Hmm.
two mountains that are just very close to each other. And they both had waterfalls, but there wasn't any water between them. Like that used to all just be grass. And I was like, I could always just connect the water and make another bridge. And so that's
Mm.
exactly what I did. And so a lot of it was really just spontaneous, making water wherever I could because the waterways are my favorite. I love the bridges.
Yeah.
And I was only using like 3 or 4 bridges on my island before I renovated. I still don't think I've used all 8, but I think it looks natural as it is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's probably the best way, in fact, because it looks so natural and it makes, yeah, I guess it's like someone actually just had water there and someone wanted to cross over it. So a bridge happened. So that's really cool. And then I guess just in general, what is your design process? Like what do you start with?
It depends by area. So like the hybrid garden and the Zen garden are the two oldest areas on my island. Like they've gone the longest unchanged.
Hmm.
And for the Zen garden, I just knew I wanted to use Stonehenge and my pagoda. And I was like, okay, well, both of these have very calming, like Zen vibes. And so I ended up making the Zen area just because I wanted to incorporate more water in that corner of my island. There was nothing really going on there before, and I'd seen so many posts on Reddit and Instagram. Um, just with these gorgeous bamboo and zen areas. So I wanted to do my own take on it, and so that's how that happened. But like with places like Eric and Deirdre's house, that was more of a planned thing because I knew when I got the two deer that I wanted them to have like a woodsy area to live. So like that was definitely more of a concrete plan I had for a while instead of being spontaneous. And then like with the hybrid garden, like I said, it was just kind of a working with what I have type of thing. I knew I had all these flowers that I'd bred and I didn't want it to be for nothing, so I knew I had to incorporate them. I do a lot of that with storage as well. Like if I have an item in storage that I really like and I don't want it to just go to waste, then I'll try to plan an area themed around that item.
That's really clever. And so I guess, yeah, like what are your favorite items?
Okay, absolutely my favorite item is the paper kite butterfly model. I'm not even lying. I have like 17 of them in storage right now.
I
They're going to
actually
be on
just
my beach.
I just passed by one.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. They're
beautiful.
everywhere. I love those models. I like all the butterfly models, but the paper kite ones are just so like versatile. Like you can use them anywhere. Um, so that's my
Yeah.
favorite, followed by the Valiant statue. My whole museum area was built around the fact that I had these two Valiant statues. I deliberately got a fake one just so I could put them on either side and they'd be like symmetrical, I guess. So
That's
yeah,
very
that whole
cool.
area was themed around Valiant statues.
Amazing. Yeah, the Valiant statue is just like probably the most impressive statue ever. It's so pretty.
Yeah, it's
Um,
stunning.
yeah. And then you mentioned creating Eric and Deirdre's area and also Audie, I think. But like for each villager, you created quite individual, unique sections for them, like with cute little themes. So yeah, can you talk through your maybe your theme or like what you wanted to create for each villager?
Yeah, for sure. So it's interesting, actually. If you look at my maps and my Instagram highlights, you can see how my island kind of progressed from having two very organized neighborhoods to becoming so spread out. I originally just wanted them all close together
Mm-hmm.
because it was much easier to find when villagers were crafting DIYs and things. It was so much easier to just be able to walk through, houses that were right beside each other. But
For
the longer
sure.
it was like that, the more I wanted them to have more space because they were all like a couple blocks from each other, so I couldn't really put any unique furniture out for them. And so when I started flattening Rivendell to add more like cliffs and water areas, I decided that I was just going to make different areas for the villagers. So Judy and Marshall just ended up being kind of random. Like that was the only part of the island I had left with room for houses, and I was like, okay, you guys are going to go right there, which is why they share a swinging bench instead of having their own little areas. Uh,
I thought it was
but
cute.
then,
Like maybe they're old
yeah,
friends.
yeah, I think so too. Also, I think eventually I'm going to swap Judy out for Portia, and I think Portia and Marshall would be great friends. Um,
Brilliant.
but yeah, so that was kind of the thing is I wanted each villager to have more space because I felt like I wasn't really appreciating them and their individuality. So
Mm.
I just ended up taking different areas where I had free space and making them. Like Kiki being behind Abel Sisters was completely random. I just had that area and it was awkward to have her like on the ground directly behind Abel Sisters.
Mm-hmm.
So then I built the cliff and I was like, okay, well now we have Kiki's overlook. That's what she deserves. Um,
Yeah,
I
I'm
just,
there right now actually, and she's got like an amazing view and just
yeah,
such
she
nice
deserves it.
kind of
She is the
terraforming
best.
and I love that. Um, and and do you have any like recommendations or advice for people who don't really know where to start with their design or they're in a bit of a rut? Because you've talked about going through different themes and designs.
Yeah, so my primary recommendation would be to start with terraforming. Like instead of making paths, like making your terraforming fit where houses and paths and things are, terraform how you want your island to be and then put buildings where they'll fit because like obviously you'll have to do some planning for big buildings like Nook's Cranny and the museum just to make sure there's enough room. But overall I think I held myself back a lot trying to fit terraforming around where I'd already placed buildings instead of just moving them. So that was just a hassle to have to get over. And then another thing, and I mentioned this today, but like I think something that really holds us back is that we're all constantly comparing, and it's like it's okay to make something that's not necessarily the most aesthetic thing in the world or something that you haven't seen before. Like all of our islands are so unique, and I don't think anything has to fit a specific theme or anything. Like my island is all over the place when you get down to it. Like the hybrid garden, the zen area, the beaches, everything is very different. Um, but I think that's part of the fun is like I can go to different areas of the island if I get tired of seeing a specific thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's been, and we get that on the comments on these island tours as well. Like people are like, "Oh, that's it. My island sucks. I'm restarting." And I mean, if someone inspires you to do something different, then why not? But I think, yeah, the message you had on your post is really important. You know, like everyone's, whatever you create is beautiful, and as long as you love it, that's the main thing, right?
Yeah, and I think it's important also to note that like even some of the creators with bigger pages right now, like all of us are drawing inspiration from somewhere. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I got inspired to change my theme to foresty by looking at some of my friends' accounts. Like
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't just a like a eureka moment privately
Mm-hmm.
for me. Like it was seeing all these posts. Like we're all constantly consuming so much Animal Crossing media. Like none of us are just Animal Crossing geniuses. We're all getting our ideas from somewhere and just making them our own.
Yeah, yeah, completely. And I think that's part of the beauty of it, right? Like when you see something that's inspiring and then interpreting it for yourself or for your island. Um, yeah, like I've definitely been inspired by lots of people and tried to find a way of making it mine. So yeah,
Exactly.
I think that's really cool.
Also, something
Um,
else that
mm,
like is really helpful for starting out that I found is literally like if you haven't really figured out what you want to do with your island, if you just go to one of the pages that's like a bunch of QR codes, you can get so inspired just looking at different designs people have made. Like that's what happened a lot with like my garden sign, my welcome sign, things like that. I got inspired to make whole areas around just these random designs that I'd come across on Instagram or Reddit. And so if you're feeling really like burnout and unmotivated, I would recommend literally just looking at these different design pages because you never know like when you're going to see something that really speaks to you and inspires you to do an area.
completely. There's so much creativity. Like I've seen people make just I don't know, very realistic like Sephora makeup counters and like hot dog stands and but also like beaches. I don't know. It's just lots of stuff that I would never ever think of
Yeah, it's
in terms of the
incredible.
codes. Yeah, really cool. And do you have any future plans for your island? Anything under development or you have mulling around in your brain?
Yeah. So my next big project is going to be the beaches. You probably noticed we didn't really go into them very much in the video because honestly, parts of them are still a flower dumping ground, and I have no idea what to do with the empty space yet. So my primary goal this week, I think, is to work on at least one area of my beach to like create maybe a lounge or something. Uh,
Nice.
but for the past couple months, I have torn down Rivendell at least 3 times, like completely just dug up all the flowers, moved them to the beach, moved all the buildings and everything. And I
Wow.
told myself that I'm not doing it again until at least winter. Like in autumn, Rivendell is going to look like this. It's going to have beach decor, hopefully. But otherwise, like the terraforming and everything should stay the same. I
Yeah.
promised myself I wasn't going to keep doing this. So
It
until
is,
winter, it should look the same.
yeah, it is pretty painful completely tearing down and rebuilding. I'm in that right now. It just takes so much time.
Oh yeah, especially when you have so many custom path patterns down. Like I never want to go through and clean all those up again.
Yeah, yeah, I completely hear that exactly right now. Cool. So, maybe just to end some speed round questions.
Hmm.
Your favorite villager?
Kiki for sure.
Kiki. Yeah, I mean, I should have known that because you created that beautiful overlook for her. Do you have a dreamy still to obtain
Yes. I
or
just
invite?
let Punchy move out last night, and so I went villager hunting and I found Tangy, who is one of my
Cute.
dreams. Currently, the ones I most want are Portia, uh, maybe Piper, and then probably my top dreamy right now is Tasha. I want Tasha on Rivendell so bad.
What animal is Tasha? I don't know her.
She is a squirrel. She's snooty.
Oh, cute. I just got Sylvana, who's a squirrel, and she's super adorable.
Yeah, I
Um,
used to have Pecan, but I let her go.
okay, do you prefer decorating or terraforming?
Definitely decorating. Terraforming is so tedious for me.
And lastly, what season are you most excited for?
You know, probably winter because I think it's going to introduce like a whole new, like, creative element in terms of working around the snow and like creating more of a winter wonderland vibe.
Completely, completely. I think that, yeah, definitely will transform the islands in a really interesting way. So, yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your process. And yeah, just that like very supportive message to everyone to love their work. Yeah, it was such a joy to visit twice. And
Yeah, thank
can't
you so
wait to
much for
see what
coming.
you create. No, thank you.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
so yeah, thanks everyone for joining this Creator Insights video. If you haven't seen it yet, the proper tour of Rivendell is on the video, and you can follow Lex on Instagram at crossing.rivendell. So yeah, thanks so much, guys, and see you next time.